In a certain city, there lived a young lady called Annabelle. Annabelle was a young and beautiful lady in her early 30s. She was married to a caring and loving husband named Charles. They were blessed with a beautiful daughter named Michelle, who was 10 years old. Charles loved his wife and daughter so much, and nothing mattered more to him more than his family. One morning, while the family were eating breakfast and getting ready for work, 10 years old Michelle told her mom and dad that she had a dream, and in that dream, she saw where her daddy drove the mom out of the house. What Michelle said made Annabelle restless, and even while at work, she couldn't help but think about it. She was disturbed and greatly unsettled. She related the dream to her friend Kemi, who told her that all she needed to do was to be careful and prayerful. A few days later, Charles informed Annabelle that he would be traveling outside the country for a business meeting, which would take up to a month before he returns. Annabelle was sad, knowing that they would greatly miss him. She wished he could cancel the meeting, but that wasn't possible at all. Charles also wished that he wouldn't have to stay for that long. On the day that Charles left, Annabelle and Mitchell followed him to the airport to see him off. And after the plane took off, they went back home. It was just Annabelle and Mitchell, though they spoke with Charles on a daily basis, but they still missed him greatly. One day, Annabelle went to the shopping mall with Mitchell, and on their way back, they ran into Annabelle's old-time friend, David. Both of them were happy to see each other. They hugged, exchanged pleasantries, and before they parted ways, David took Annabelle's contact number. David started calling and communicating with Annabelle almost every day. He would call her in the morning and at night most of the times. Annabelle was comfortable with it and never told Charles about it, but she told her friend Kemi, who was also her childhood friend, so she knew David very well. Kemi was unhappy and displeased with the way David was calling Annabelle, knowing fully well that she was married. Kemi tried to advise Annabelle to cut down on the communication, but Annabelle went ahead to explain to her that David meant no harm, and also reminded her how David had helped her out in the past, and also how David wanted to marry her, but because of genotype issues, they couldn't get married. I have never liked him, and I can't trust him. He should respect your marriage and stop calling you like you are his girlfriend, Kemi advised, but Annabelle told her that it would be wrong for her to toss him off like that just because she was married. Mitchell too was not an exception. She disliked David and hated the way he was coming close to her mother, but all that mattered less to Annabelle. This went on and on until a day came. David invited Annabelle to his house, telling her that he was traveling very soon and he was hosting some of his friends at his house and he would love Annabelle to come. Without thinking twice, Annabelle accepted and was ready to attend the mini party at David's house. When Kemi heard this, she was very angry and mad at Annabelle. She warned her not to attend the party, telling her that she doesn't feel good about David, but Annabelle said that it would be unfair for her to turn David's invitation down. Kemi did the best she could do as a friend and left Annabelle to whatever she wanted. When the day of the event finally came, it was during the weekend, and Annabelle left Mitchell with her friend Kemi and headed to David's house. On her way to the party, her car unexpectedly broke down. She sent for someone to help her repair it, but according to the repairer, there was nothing wrong with the car. After so many failed attempts to put the car in order, Annabelle decided to call David and inform him that she wouldn't be able to make it to the party. While on the call, David told her not to worry, that he would send his driver to pick her up and bring her to the house. Annabelle agreed and waited patiently for the driver, who arrived almost immediately. Annabelle arrived at David's house. He welcomed her, but to her greatest astonishment, there was nothing like a party going on. It was just her and David in the house. She asked David if the party was cancelled, but David replied that his friends were on their way. They went ahead and began to discuss. until it was almost midday. That was when it dawned on Anabelle that this could actually be a setup. She told David that she wanted to go, but David refused to let her go. He held her hand and told her not to move an inch. He clearly told her that all he wanted was her and no one else. Anabelle became scared, and while she struggled to free herself, David pushed her so hard that she lost her balance and hit her head on the wall, and she blacked out. The next day, Anabelle woke up inside a car, and when she looked up, she discovered that she was parked right in front of her house. The only thing she remembered was when she was struggling with David. Her whole body ached, and she cried bitterly as she wondered what David did to her. She searched for her phone but couldn't find it. It was obvious that David took her phone also. She immediately drove down to Kemi's apartment and explained everything to her, but Kemi, out of anger and disappointment, sent her out of her house. She cried and left with Mitchell. She locked herself up in the house, stopped going to work, and paid less attention to Mitchell. She was pained and regretted ever crossing paths with David. 3 days later, Kemi came to check up on them, and Kemi discovered that Mitchell had not been going to school, and she hadn't been eating well either. Kemi tried to encourage Anabelle to forgive herself, go back to work and live her life, but should pray fervently that it would not bring a problem in her marriage. Anabelle summoned courage and went back to work the following day, but unfortunately, she was sacked, and that was how she lost her job. She went back home again, crying and blaming herself for everything that happened. While she was still sobbing, the door creaked open and Charles walked in, surprising the hell out of her. Charles too was surprised to see her in that condition, and when he asked her why, she told him it was all because she lost her job. Charles consoled her and told her that everything would be fine. But from that day onwards, Anabelle's marriage never remained the same. She couldn't bring herself to face her husband. She was always avoiding him and spacing out on him. The once lovely Anabelle changed into an aggressive woman who would always find fault in everything. Charles asked her severally the reason for the change in her attitude, but she told him that it was nothing. Most at times, you would find her crying and sobbing like a baby all by herself. Kemi advised her to open up to her husband, but she refused. She just couldn't bring herself to handle that. One fateful night, Anabelle was waiting for Charles to return from work. It was unlike him to return home late, and Anabelle was seriously worried. She called him several times, but he wouldn't pick his calls. Close to midnight, Charles finally came back. Anabelle tried to ask him why he returned late, but Charles pushed her away and went in. Anabelle was confused and speechless. Charles stopped talking to her or even eating her food. He also stopped sleeping on the same bed with her. Anabelle asked him what the issue was all about, but he refused to say a word to her. When this issue became beyond what Anabelle could handle, she had to involve her parents. Annabelle's parents came to their house to talk to Charles and asked him what was going on in his home. That was when Charles opened up and narrated to them how a certain young man named David walked into his office and claimed that he was Annabelle's lover. He showed Charles the pictures of Anabelle on his bed and also showed him Annabelle's phone, which he took from her. Anabelle was literally shaking, and her tears were flowing uncontrollably. She wanted to explain to Charles how it all happened, but he gave her no chance to do that. She went on her knees and began to plead for forgiveness, but Charles told her to pack her bags and leave his house. Both Anabelle and her parents pleaded and pleaded, but all was to no avail. Anabelle had to pack her bags and follow her parents home. Charles was ready to start a new life with his daughter alone, but Mitchell cried almost every day, asking her daddy to take her to her mommy. While all this were going on, Charles had a rethink and decided to hear Annabelle's version of the story. He visited Anna at her parents' place, and Anna was able to tell him the whole truth. She also told him that she couldn't tell him about it when he returned because she was scared of losing him. Charles forgave her and made her understand that his extreme point of anger was her not telling him, even though he had asked her about what was eating her up on several occasions. Charles reconciled with his wife and took her home. While they were rejoicing at home, Charles received a message on his phone. The message was from David, and David was telling him how sorry he was for what he told him about his wife. He confessed that it was all a lie and he never slept with his wife. He did all he did because he was jealous of how they were living happily. Charles was happy and wished he had heard from his wife earlier. Mitchell too was running around in excitement. She had missed her mommy so much and was happy to have her back. Anabelle was grateful to God for saving her marriage and also learned that as a married woman, there was a limit to the things she can engage herself in. She understood the importance of transparency, carefulness, and honesty in marriage. They were later blessed with a bouncing baby boy, and they lived happily ever after.